On February 18, 2026, LaMelo Ball crashed his Hummer into a sedan at a busy Charlotte intersection. It wasn't his first scare behind the wheel, and within minutes, old clips began resurfacing online. Now, headlines are saying he's done for good. Here's what that really means, and what actually happened. The crash. On Wednesday, February 18, 2026, at approximately 4:30 p.m., Charlotte Hornets point guard LaMelo Ball was driving westbound on East Trade Street in uptown Charlotte, North Carolina. He was behind the wheel of a custom camouflage-colored 2022 GMC Hummer EV Edition 1. The intersection of Trade and Tryon Streets is one of the busiest spots in the city. Ball attempted an unprotected left turn onto the one-way Tryon Street. An eastbound silver or gray Kia sedan was coming through. Ball's Hummer collided with the Kia. The Hummer's front left wheel was dislodged entirely from the vehicle. The Kia sustained significant front-end damage. Both cars had to be towed from the scene. Footage captured by WSOC-TV showed the Hummer swerving slightly before the collision. Ball was wearing an aqua-colored Hornets hoodie when he stepped out of the wrecked Hummer. The Kia driver also exited their vehicle and approached Ball's truck. Witnesses described hearing a loud bump or noise. One witness was an employee at a nearby halal food cart. Another was a manager at the Sweet Green on the corner. Within minutes, a crowd of 50 to 100 people gathered at the scene. Now here's where it gets interesting. LaMelo Ball, standing next to his wrecked Hummer with its wheels sitting on the asphalt, did what only LaMelo Ball would do. He walked over to a Lamborghini and was escorted away from the scene. You just crashed a vehicle that weighs over 9,000 pounds into a Kia, and your exit strategy is a Lamborghini. That's not a car accident exit. That's a music video transition. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department was on the scene, but they did not release a police report. They did not confirm a cause. They did not confirm fault. They did not even confirm that Ball was the driver, even though photographs, video, and multiple eyewitnesses place him behind the wheel. One person involved was treated by medic for minor, non-life-threatening injuries, though it was never clarified whether this was the Kia driver or someone else. Ball himself, not a scratch. A league source confirmed he was fine. The very next day, LaMelo Ball was not listed on the injury report and was expected to take the court, and against the Houston Rockets. He had attended Hornets practice earlier on the day of the crash, crashed a Hummer in the afternoon, suited up by evening, and as of February 19, 2026, no official statements had been released by LaMelo Ball, the Charlotte Hornets, or the CMPD. The only communication came through anonymous sources who confirmed Ball was uninjured. Silence from the organization, silence from the player, and the police still holding the report. So naturally, the internet filled the silence with noise. Hoops Alerts on X noted Ball had switched from the Hummer to a Lamborghini, expressing relief that no one sustained life-threatening injuries. Betting analyst Liam predicted sportsbooks would shift Hornets betting lines before confirming Ball was actually fine, calling it a classic overreaction window. Marca, in English, shared crash footage, confirming details about the custom Hummer. First Down Media posted video and called it a bad look for the young star. And then NNO Sports posted that LaMelo Ball's Charlotte car crash prompted memories for Bobby Phil's widow. Bobby Phil's, the Charlotte Hornets player who died in a car crash in the year 2000 after racing his Porsche at over 100 miles per hour. That's the name that came up. And if you don't know why that comparison matters, hold that thought. On Reddit, the conversation was even more direct. In the RNBA subreddit, users pointed out Ball has a reputation for being a terrible driver, constantly running red lights. In the R Charlotte Hornets subreddit, fans urged Ball to be more careful. Another RNBA thread criticized what users described as entitled behavior. The ER Charlotte subreddit highlighted his celebrity status and called his vehicle choice absurd. And in another thread, users speculated on fault, questioning whether Ball was trying to make a left through a yellow light. When the public sentences you, it doesn't come in the form of a gavel. It comes in the form of 1,000 comment sections, 100 Reddit threads, and a collective agreement that you've crossed a line one too many times. And for LaMelo Ball, that line isn't just about this one crash. This was not a freak occurrence. This was the most predictable accident in the history of the NBA, and every person who has ever watched LaMelo Ball behind the wheel of a car saw it coming from a mile away. Behind the wheel. The February 18th crash didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened in the context of a pattern, so well documented that social media users have been building a highlight reel of LaMelo Ball's driving long before the Hummer ever touched that Kia. That's right, it's a whole lecture, because there are videos circulating on social media showing him blowing through red lights and speeding near the Hornets arena. These aren't random dashcam captures. These are clips compiled by fans and critics alike, to the point where LaMelo Ball's driving has its own genre of content on the internet. And that reaction isn't surprise, that's resignation, because people have been watching this man treat the streets of Charlotte like his own personal go-kart track, and the only question was never if something would happen, but when. And the Hummer crash was not the first time Ball's driving put someone in harm's way. On October 7, 2023, after a fan event at the Charlotte Hornets Spectrum Center, Ball allegedly accelerated his vehicle suddenly while leaving the employee exit and struck an 11-year-old fan named Angel Joseph, fracturing the child's foot. The boy was seeking an autograph. In May 2024, the boy's mother, Tamaria McRae, filed a lawsuit in Mecklenburg County Superior Court against both Ball and the Hornets, seeking over $25,000 in compensatory damages. The lawsuit accused Ball of grossly negligent and reckless driving, causing severe injuries, pain, mental anguish, and medical expenses. It also alleged the Hornets failed to provide adequate security, crowd control, and safety protocols at the exit. A Charlotte-Mecklenburg police report classified the incident as non-criminal, noting minor injuries to a 12-year-old boy treated at Atrium Health Mercy. Ball was not named in that report. That litigation remains ongoing. In 2023, he ran over a child's foot in a parking lot. In 2026, he crashed a 9,000-pound Hummer into a Kia sedan at a major intersection. And in between, there is video after video of him running red lights. This isn't a man who had one bad day behind the wheel. This is a man who drives with a disregard for safety so consistent, so repeated, so documented, that the public arrived at a verdict long before any court ever could. The calls for action came from everywhere. In the aftermath of the February 18th crash, social media reactions included calls to take him off the road, reflecting genuine public concern. And as of February 19th, 2026, no charges had been filed against LaMelo Ball. No fault was officially determined. No police report was released. The CMPD wouldn't even confirm he was the driver, and the next day, he laced up his sneakers and played basketball as if nothing had happened. But LaMelo Ball is not any other employee. He is a man who signed a 5-year, $203.85 million extension with the Charlotte Hornets. That's an average of $40.77 million a year. His career earnings exceed $108 million as of 2026. And when you're worth that much to an organization, the rules of accountability bend. The silence from the Hornets wasn't an oversight, it was a business decision. You don't rock the boat when the boat is worth $200 million. Now remember that tweet from N&O Sports? The one that said LaMelo Ball's crash prompted memories for Bobby Phills' widow? Bobby Phills was a Charlotte Hornets guard. On January 12, 2000, he died in a high-speed crash after Hornets practice when he and teammate David Wesley were racing their Porsches at over 100 miles per hour near the team's arena. Phills lost control, crossed the median, and collided head-on with another vehicle. He was killed. 2 others were injured. No alcohol was involved. Pure recklessness. The Hornets retired his jersey. That crash happened in the same city where LaMelo Ball wrecked his Hummer. Same franchise, same streets. For Bobby Phills' widow, watching another Hornets player crash a vehicle in uptown Charlotte wasn't just a news story. It was a flashback, a reminder that the franchise she lost her husband to still employs players who treat public roads like racetracks. The difference between a minor accident and a fatal one is measured in seconds and inches, and LaMelo Ball has been gambling with both for years. So when people say he was sentenced, they're not always talking about a courtroom. Sometimes the sentence comes from the public, from the internet, from the knowledge that you're one red light, one unprotected left turn, one Kia sedan away from becoming the next name on a list that nobody wants to be on. Because the next time might not come with a medic report that says non-life-threatening injuries. The next time might come with a coroner. Off the court. If you think LaMelo Ball's problems start and stop at the driver's seat of a Hummer, understand this. The driving is just the latest chapter in a book that's been writing itself since he was a teenager. LaMelo LaFrance Ball, born August 22, 2001 in Anaheim, California, is the youngest son of LeVar and Tina Ball, and brother of NBA players Lonzo and LiAngelo Ball. During his sophomore year at Chino Hills High School in 2017, Ball scored 92 points in a single game against Los Osos High School, but was eviscerated for cherry picking, staying near half court to attempt long-range shots instead of defending. In 2017, Ball left Chino Hills after his father clashed with the new head coach over training methods. The launch of the LaMelo Ball 1 signature shoe under Big Baller brand that year potentially jeopardized his NCAA eligibility. He had committed to UCLA at age 13 and never played a single game there. For his senior year at Spire Academy in Ohio, he led the team to the Grind Session Championship and was named MVP, but was ruled ineligible for the McDonald's All-American game. Multiple teams canceled games against Spire over eligibility concerns, and the team was removed from the Hoop Hall Classic after organizers rejected a $10,000 appearance fee demand. Overseas, in January 2018, at age 16, LaMelo signed with Prienai of the Lithuanian Basketball League. His coach criticized his long-range shooting obsession, calling him a little chipmunk. He averaged 6.5 points, 2.4 assists, and 1.1 rebounds over 8 games. He then joined the JBA, a league founded by his father, averaged a triple-double, 39.6 points, 14.6 rebounds, 11.5 assists, and was ejected from an exhibition for slapping an opposing player. In 2019, with the Illawarra Hawks in Australia's NBL, he averaged 17.0 points, 7.4 rebounds, 6.8 assists over 12 games, and won NBL Rookie of the Year, elevating him to the 3rd overall pick in the 2020 NBA Draft. In the NBA, he won Rookie of the Year in 2021, averaging 15.7 points, 5.9 rebounds, 6.1 assists. In 2022, he was named an All-Star, posting 20.1 points, 6.7 rebounds, 7.6 assists over 75 games. By 2023, 23.3 points, 6.4 rebounds, 8.4 assists in 36 games before a fractured ankle. In 2024, 23.9 points, 5.1 rebounds, 8.0 assists in 22 games. In 2024 to 25, he hit a career-high 50 points against the Bucks, then 44 against the Magic, averaging 25.2 points, 4.9 rebounds, 7.4 assists in 47 games. Through 276 regular season games, 20.7 points, 5.8 rebounds, 7.4 assists career averages. In the current 2025-26 season, he's posted a triple-double of 38 points, 13 rebounds, 13 assists against the Wizards, 30 points on 9 threes against the Lakers, averaging 19.3 points, 4.8 rebounds, 7.4 assists in 45 games. He signed with Puma in 2021, and in late 2025, his highlights went viral on TikTok set to Doot Doot 6-7. The talent is undeniable, but talent does not make you immune to the consequences of your mouth. In July 2017, during a WWE Raw appearance, the then 15-year-old directed racially charged profanity at wrestler The Miz, prompting WWE to apologize for the inappropriate language. In 2021, he told GQ that school was worthless, drawing criticism for discouraging education among young athletes. That same year, he received an NBA warning for violating the anti-flopping rule against the 76ers. In November 2024, Ball used anti-gay language in a post-game interview on FanDuel Sports Network, saying, "No homo," when discussing defending Giannis Antetokounmpo. The NBA fined him $100,000, the maximum allowable. Coach Charles Lee said Ball was very apologetic, and Ball said he didn't intend to offend. In October 2025, he was fined $35,000 for flipping off a referee during a loss to the Heat. In November 2025, he was shoved to the ground by Keyshawn George during a game against the Wizards. That same month, reports surfaced he was frustrated with the Hornets amid a 4-11 start and open to a trade, with the front office preferring to build around Brandon Miller and rookie Con Canoople. Ball denied it on X, posting a clown emoji and calling the information false. He's missed significant time in 4 of 6 NBA seasons. Then there's the legal side beyond driving. In November 2023, Big Baller brand co-founder Alan Foster sued LaMelo, his parents, Puma, and related entities for over $200 million, alleging trademark infringement, fraud, breach of contract, and unjust enrichment. He claimed a 33% stake in family companies, accusing the Balls of transferring trademarks without his consent. Foster argued Puma's MB-01 line infringed on the MB1 branding he developed. The dispute traced back to Foster being ousted amid prior conflicts, including a 2019 lawsuit by Lonzo Ball against him. Those cases remain ongoing. going. A $100,000 fine, a $35,000 fine, a $200 million lawsuit, a civil suit from the mother of a child he allegedly ran over, trade rumors, on-court altercations, and now a wrecked Hummer at one of Charlotte's busiest intersections. This is the full picture of LaMelo Ball as of February 2026. And the reason this crash carries weight isn't just because of what happened at Trade and Tryon. It's because of everything that happened before it. Every red light, every fine, every lawsuit, every video, all of it raises a question nobody in the Hornets organization seems willing to answer. What happens the next time when the outcome isn't a dislodged tire and a medic report for minor injuries? Because there is a history in the NBA of what worse looks like, and it is a history written in blood. Speed kills. The NBA has buried its players because of car accidents, not figuratively, literally. And when you place LaMelo Ball's driving record next to the names on that list, the gap between where he is and where those men ended up is narrower than anyone in Charlotte should be comfortable with. Let's start with the name that was already invoked. Bobby Phills was a Charlotte Hornets guard who died on January 12, 2000, at the age of 30. He and teammate David Wesley had just finished practice and were racing their Porsches at over 100 miles per hour on a public road near the team's arena. Phills lost control, crossed the median, and collided head-on with another vehicle. He was killed on impact. 2 people in the oncoming car were injured. No alcohol was involved. This was a Charlotte Hornets player on Charlotte streets, driving at a speed that left no room for error. The Hornets retired his jersey. The franchise mourned. And 26 years later, when another Hornets player crashed a vehicle in the same city, Bobby Phills' widow felt it all over again. That's not a coincidence. That's a warning that nobody listened to. Then there's Malik Sealy of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who was killed on May 20th, 2000, at the age of 30. Sealy was driving home from teammate Kevin Garnett's birthday party when his SUV was struck head-on by a pickup truck driven the wrong way by Suksangguan Fengsin, a drunk driver. Sealy died instantly from chest trauma. The driver was convicted of vehicular homicide. Sealy did nothing wrong. He was driving home, and a drunk driver on the wrong side of the road took his life. That's the thing about car accidents. You can do everything right and still die because someone else didn't. And when the person who didn't do everything right is a man with a documented history of running red lights, the risk isn't just to himself, it's to every Malik Sealy on the other side of the road who never sees it coming. Eddie Griffin, who played for the Minnesota Timberwolves, died on August 17, 2007 at the age of 25. He was intoxicated with over 3 times the legal alcohol limit in his system when he ignored railroad warnings, drove through a barrier, and collided with a moving freight train in Houston. His SUV exploded on impact. He was identified through dental records. And here's the thing about Eddie Griffin that makes his story even more disturbing. Prior to his death, in 2006, he had been in a separate non-fatal crash where he was allegedly engaged in a deeply inappropriate private act while operating his vehicle. His career was already spiraling due to substance abuse. The signs were there, the warnings were there, and nobody intervened effectively enough to prevent what happened next. Does that sound familiar? Because to the people watching LaMelo Ball's driving videos pile up on social media, it sounds very, very familiar. Rajuel Butler, who played 13 NBA seasons with various teams including the Clippers and Hornets, died on January 31st, 2018, at the age of 38. He and his wife, singer Leah LaBelle, were killed in a single vehicle crash in Studio City, California, when Butler lost control of his Range Rover at a speed possibly between 60 and 90 miles per hour in a 35 mile per hour zone. The vehicle hit parking meters, a wall, and flipped. Both died at the scene. Toxicology showed alcohol, marijuana, and methamphetamine in Butler's system. 2 lives erased in an instant because of speed and impairment on a residential street. LaMelo Ball wasn't impaired when he crashed his Hummer, but he was turning left across an intersection in a vehicle so large that its own wheel tore off on impact. And the difference between Butler's outcome and Ball's outcome isn't talent or skill or character, it's luck. Terry Furlow, who played for the Utah Jazz, died in 1980 at the age of 25 in a single-car crash on an Ohio highway when his vehicle veered off the road and hit a pole at high speed. Cocaine was found in his system. 3 NBA seasons. That's all he got. Dražen Petrovic, the Hall of Fame shooting guard for the New Jersey Nets, died on June 7, 1993, at the age of 28. He was a passenger in a car driven by his girlfriend on a German highway when the car clipped a truck and crashed into a barrier at high speed. Petrovic wasn't wearing a seatbelt and died from head injuries. He wasn't even driving, and he still didn't make it home. Drew Gordon, a former NBA player who spent time with the 76ers, died in 2024 at the age of 33 in a motorcycle motorcycle crash in Oregon, where he lost control and collided with a pickup truck. Those are the players who died. Now, let's talk about the ones who killed somebody else, because this is the part of the story that should keep LaMelo Ball up at night. J.R. Smith, while playing for the Denver Nuggets in 2007, caused a fatal crash in New Jersey by running a stop sign in his SUV and colliding with another car. He and his passenger, Andre Bell, were ejected because neither was wearing a seatbelt. Bell died from head injuries 2 days later. Smith suffered minor injuries. A grand jury declined to bring vehicular manslaughter charges, but he pleaded guilty to reckless driving, served 24 days in jail out of a 90-day sentence, completed 500 hours of community service, and was suspended for 7 NBA games. His driving record included multiple license suspensions and speeding tickets before the crash. J.R. Smith ran a stop sign. LaMelo Ball runs red lights on camera. The parallel writes itself. The only difference is that when J.R. Smith blew through that intersection, someone was in the way, and that someone didn't survive. Mookie Blaylock, the former All-Star who played for the Atlanta Hawks, caused a head-on collision in Atlanta in 2013 by drifting into oncoming traffic. His SUV struck another vehicle, killing passenger Monica Murphy, who was 43 years old, and injuring her husband. Blaylock had prior DUI arrests and a history of epilepsy, and it was suggested a seizure may have caused the drift. But the law didn't care about maybe. He pleaded guilty to vehicular homicide and was sentenced to 15 years, serving 3 before being released on probation. 15 years for drifting into oncoming traffic. LaMelo Ball swerved his Hummer into the path of a Kia while making an unprotected left turn. The geometry is different, the speed is different, the outcome was different, but the fundamental act, entering space that belonged to another vehicle, is the same. Anthony Grundy, who briefly played for the Atlanta Hawks, struck and killed a woman who was crossing a Louisville highway in 2019 in a hit and run. He admitted he knew he hit something, but didn't stop. He was charged with leaving the scene and failure to render aid. Hit a person, knew he hit a person, kept driving. That is the nightmare scenario. And it's worth noting that LaMelo Ball, whatever else you want to say about the February 18th crash, did not flee the scene. He remained at the intersection, exited his vehicle, and interacted with the other driver before being escorted away. That matters. Staying at the scene matters. But the comparison to hit and runs doesn't end there, because even players who didn't kill anyone have fled crashes. Dennis Rodman, in 2016, drove the wrong way on a California freeway, forcing another car to swerve and crash into a wall, and then left without exchanging information. He was charged with hit and run, driving the wrong way, having an invalid license, and lying to police. Dennis Rodman, a man who was already synonymous with chaos, managed to add wrong way freeway driver to his list. And while LaMelo Ball hasn't driven the wrong way on a highway yet, the fact that people even entertain that comparison tells you everything about where the public perception of his driving sits. And then there are the players who were victims. Bobby Hurley, as a Sacramento Kings rookie in 1993, had his car T-boned by a station wagon driving without lights, suffering life-threatening injuries, including collapsed lungs and broken bones. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt and was thrown from the vehicle. He came back briefly, but the injuries effectively ended his career. Chandler Parsons, in 2020, was hit by a drunk driver, suffering a traumatic brain injury, herniated disc, and torn labrum that ended his NBA career permanently. These men lost their careers and nearly their lives because of someone else's reckless driving. And the irony is suffocating when you consider that LaMelo Ball is the someone else in his own story. He's the one other people need to watch out for. He's the risk factor on the road. Now place LaMelo Ball's February 18th, 2026 crash next to all of this. A GMC Hummer EV colliding with a Kia sedan at an intersection in Uptown Charlotte. No fatalities. One person treated for minor, non-life-threatening injuries. Ball walked away without a scratch. Played basketball the next day. No charges. No police report. No statement. No accountability. On the surface, it's a minor traffic incident, but underneath, it's the latest data point in a pattern that has historically, repeatedly, across multiple decades of NBA history, ended in death. Bobby Phills didn't plan to die on a Charlotte road. Malik Sealy didn't plan to be killed by a drunk driver. Eddie Griffin didn't plan to hit a freight train. Andre Bell didn't plan to lose his life because J.R. Smith ran a stop sign. Monica Murphy didn't plan to die because Mookie Blaylock drifted into her lane. None of them planned it, but it happened. And it happened because somebody, whether it was The player, or someone else, made a decision behind the wheel that they couldn't take back. LaMelo Ball has been making decisions behind the wheel that he hasn't had to take back yet. The word "yet" is doing more work in that sentence than any word should ever have to do, because the February 18th crash was a collision at an intersection. It was not a 100-mile-per-hour race. It was not a wrong-way freeway incident. It was not a drunk driving crash. It was not a hit and run, but it was a reminder that on that particular Wednesday afternoon, at that particular intersection, the margin between a dislodged wheel and something catastrophic was measured in fractions of a second and feet of pavement. And if the Kia had been going faster, or if Ball had turned a half second later, or if a pedestrian had been crossing, or if the Hummer had rolled instead of spun, the conversation we'd be having right now would be very, very different. So what is the sentence for LaMelo Ball? It isn't a prison term. It isn't a fine from the NBA. It isn't a civil judgment from a courtroom. It's the knowledge, shared by everyone who has studied the history of car accidents in the NBA, that the road does not care about your stat line. The road does not care about your $203 million contract. The road does not care about your Puma signature shoe deal, your TikTok highlights, your triple doubles, or your all-star selection. The road treats a 6'7" point guard with a career averaging 20.7 points, 7.4 assists, and 5.8 rebounds per game the exact same way it treats the driver of a silver Kia sedan going straight through an intersection on a Wednesday afternoon. And the players who learned that lesson the hard way aren't here to warn LaMelo Ball about what comes next, but their stories are. And if LaMelo Ball is paying attention, and frankly, based on everything we've seen, that's a big if, maybe this crash is the one that finally makes him understand that the next time he turns a key, he's not just gambling with his own life, he's gambling with everyone else's. And the house does not always let you walk away.